Now. Hello everyone. Okay, I'm gonna wait for a couple of responses, see if everything's working. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone hear me fine? I think this is working. Okay. I can basically start. So, this is which part is it actually? It's part 5 of the retopology process of Snow. So last week I actually skipped. I didn't do a live stream, and the reason for that is because there was a holiday here in the Netherlands. So I took a bit of time off, and now I'm back, and there's still plenty to do for the body retopology. So let's get back into it. It's actually good that I took a bit of time away to like mull over this, because it is really interesting to see it now again. I do really like some of the choices that I've made, specifically for Snow, because the topology is following his muscle structure very well, and that's gonna look really well later on. But there are some odd bits where the topology is really unclean, or like there's just too many poles. It's a bit messy. I could say the same for the face, but here the general structure is still really solid, I think. Everyone hears me nice. Awesome. I also this time have rain open on the side, so I can like toggle between this. So this is like the somewhat final retopology I did back then. And it's the thing is, here I really restricted myself to having extremely clear patches and loops, and everything has this super clean topology. But as a result, it's just really high density. Like it's super highly subdivided, which is fine. There's nothing necessarily against it. And it did work really well later on for the character, but it is way more loops than I would ever need for this character. So that's actually something I wanted to do different for Snow this time, to just have the minimum amount of loops and geometry as possible, and structure it a bit more towards his actual body shapes. But I think I need to hit a sweet spot. Like, look how simple the arm topology is. It is really just like, I even colored the patches to make it even easier to see. Like, it is really just like these simple circular loops, then this little patch here, which is really just like a little inset, and that is basically it. For Snow, this is getting a bit more complex, but specifically because there's like this muscle structure here that is a bit more detailed, and I want to capture that. And not via displacement textures, but via the actual topology. Again, if for any person in the chat, if you have any questions directly towards me, you can just tag Blender Studio, and then I will much easier see it, and I can just directly respond to it. Exactly. So I would say I'm just going to dive straight in. I think the body topology itself is really solid. Like, there's like some little things that might be a bit problematic. Like, one of the things I keep saying for retopology is it's nice to have like that edge, that loop that is in the center of your crease, or like where you have like a little crease, a valley or a peak. Don't put any poles on it, so any vertices with more or less connected edges than 4, because that's going to be really visible potentially. Here is the only spot where I actually did it. I hope that's not going to be too tricky later on. I already retopologized the upper body. I think this is really fine. It captures most of the shapes, and I don't care as much anymore for the shapes going towards the pelvis, because this is really just going to be covered by clothes. So, and I'm I at least want to work out his upper body, because I think there is still the potential to like toggle off the shirt or something and just have him like shirt free. But for the lower body, this is not going to be the case. So pelvis is going to be like really simple topology, and then the legs, I also want to capture them a bit more nicely. And with the feet, I don't really want to bother. I did the same for Rain. The feet will never be shown, so the topology is really simple and mainly just as a size reference for the shoes. But yes, I would say I'm just going to dive straight in. I think the first area that I want to adjust is actually the hands. I want to fix some of the problems that I see from the previous time I worked on the topology. And the hands has some problematic areas, like there's like these two poles which make the palm really messy. Like the area around the thumb is also still really messy, and the wrist is just horrendous. This is not working. So I'm actually going to delete this loop immediately now. I think I'm also going to delete this loop and just work from here. I also already see a first question where I got tagged. Have you ever made a character with genitals? Actually, no. It's actually interesting. It's like, I was once working on a movie that is called Nachtmar. It's like a German production, and it has this really creepy creature in it. I was working on like corrective shape keys for the animation. And that character has, he's essentially just genitals. So it's like, it's really creepy. It's like a weird monster design. And I would say that maybe counts, but I wasn't like making the character. I was just fixing some animation. But apart from that, I never had the need for it. So basically, if anything, you can like make like size references, because that helps out really well. Like once you add the clothing on top, it doesn't feel empty. It at least still feels anatomically correct. But apart from that, even like around the pelvis now, I like any details, I would just lose them. I would not even bother, because they're not going to be visible. So why even create them? So let's see. Here's the thing. Like I'm going to switch back to Rain. And the first thing here, which I think is really clean and well done, is like that there's like two face loops over here between the fingers, and then it terminates into like this diamond, which just becomes like, out of these 3 edge loops, it just becomes 1. Right now, for Snow, I have 2 edge loops that are going between the fingers, and they just stay 2 edge loops going into the palm. And that's just way too much geometry. I don't need it. So what I'm instead going to do is, first of all, I'm going to get rid of these diamonds completely. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of all of this geometry. Like, just delete it. I want to really have a little bit of a fresh start here. I don't think this is working. So let's just do that. I'm going to add an edge loop right here in the middle of the fingers. Ooh, what is this doing? Okay. I'm going to delete this as well. And these 2 faces as well. Just so that the edge loop actually doesn't go like crazy into the thumb. Okay. Kind of like this. If I wanted to, I could like go into sculpt mode with a slight relax brush. I can like smooth over it a little bit. Just a little bit. It's easier than tweaking the vertices one by one. There we go. And then still over here, this is all fine. But now I need to choose where to actually terminate those loops. So let's see. I I could do it like somewhere here at the same spot. So let's just do that. So I'm just gonna select these edges and move them in. Merge by distance. I'm actually going to toggle this button, auto merge editing. So if I slide this in with pressing GG, I still forget it every time. I want to enable screencast keys. This helps out a lot, makes it easier to see what I'm doing, what shortcuts I'm pressing, and of course, some music. So let's get back into this. So just sliding this in. And the same on the palm. So the question is, where do I do it over here? Interestingly, on Rain, I did it directly where the fingers stop. I could do the same here, but I'm a bit worried. Let's see. Yeah, because of this. Like, this is terrible. This says how many connected edges? Like, it says like 7 connected edges. That's terrible. So instead I'm gonna do it a bit further down. I could also do it up here, I guess. Like that. No, then I have the vertex over here with 6 connected edges. So I am really going to do it like further down here. Like this. I'm not going to worry too much about the palm right now. And what this really does right now is it allows me to have fewer loops on the back of the hand and the palm. I'm going to delete this vertex over here. Also going to delete this vertex. These 2 edges. Yeah, let's delete more of this. I'm really going to do a bit of restructuring. Same thing over here. Merge these inwards. And then I can just... Interestingly, what I typically did is like I switched to face selection mode, select these 2 and press F to make this one face. But I think one thing other people are doing is maybe a bit more efficient. Just a tiny thing of just like, oh yeah, just switch to edge selection, select the edge and press Ctrl X. And that's just dissolving the edge. It's just one less click. I want to get used to that. It's just like these little improvements to your workflow. I think it's worth it. I think this is looking fine. Again, like moving some of this stuff around a bit. I think I'm actually going to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier, because I see like every time I move stuff, it's like twitching, and that's because it's like snapping actually back to those faces, and it's just a bit annoying. I really hope at some point Blender is going to implement a better snapping system for Retopology. It's like the top thing that is requested, and for good reason. I've been doing so much Retopology, I'm seeing wireframes in real life. Yes, absolutely. It's like when you do a task so repetitively, you can't think of anything else. You just close your eyes and you can't see anything else. So true. Okay. So, I can go into sculpt mode again, like slide and relax some of these areas. Again, the slide relax brush is amazing for these tasks. Just about cleaning up your topology a little bit. Again, here I can like select these edges, Ctrl X, and now they're dissolved. And I can like smooth over it a bit with the slide relax brush. Like this. I still want to have these two edges near to each other because they're kind of highlighting this crease. Let's see. So I can like push this in. Yeah, somewhat like this. I hope this is not too bad once I subdivide it. I should like subdivide it for once. And toggling like, and basically I have shortcuts for this. Again, like toggling wireframe on the object. Okay. This should be good. And now I have way less topology going into the palm. Gonna get rid of this as well. Extrude this up, add a loop, fill here as well, like that. Smooth over it and move it around a bit more. Yeah, this is why I had the modifier off. I don't want to have subdivision surface in sculpt mode. Some basic brushes are kind of needed for edit mode. Well, they would make this more easier. This is a big design task, fixing this. Let's see. Let's see. So I can move this around. Let's actually go back here. I want to see what I did here. So there's a few poles here. One pole actually directly on the crease. That's bad. So if I do something like this, I could get another loop over here. These right next to each other. And then I could have this solved, kinda. This can be moved way over here. I can combine these. Just trying to find something that is a bit more clean. But also I should keep an open eye towards where those loops are actually going. Okay, I could like extrude this one up over here. For this I temporarily disabled snapping so that it doesn't all snap to this side of the hand. And then I again need to do this one more time over here. Extrude this up. Yeah, I think I need to do something like this. This loop, I don't want it to continue over here. Then it would just spiral. Like what I did here a moment ago. Like if this would just continue over here. This seems fine at first, but then you notice I just continue. It's like actually spiraling. So this loop continues over here around the hands, and then it continues over here, and it never terminates. It just keeps going. So this is what I need to be aware of. This is not allowed to happen. So now I can smooth a bit over this. Oh, using the wrong brush. Slide relax is gonna keep the form alive. Like this. And this is already looking much better than before. It's less poles, it's a cleaner topology. It's a bit more high res, but I can live with that. Again, there needs to be a compromise. And I need to add some more loops in the arm anyway. So now this one actually needs to continue over here. Oh, I should enable snapping again. And I see some questions where, again, tag Blender Studio if you have questions, it's easier to see. Why are you using Solidify modifier? That's actually a really nice point. Like, I should actually look up some of my notes one moment, because I got a tip like 2 streams ago from Staffan Wikström, who pointed out that if you use a Solidify modifier, it actually hides the geometry on the other side when you use the hidden wire overlay. It's like a little bit hackish. It's like a trick for the overlay settings. Like, now I don't see this anymore. It's amazing. It's like, it's making it visually more clear what I'm working at. But to be honest, this should just be an official feature. But I can recommend this. Add a Solidify modifier, and it will hide the geometry. Another question, when did you start Blender? It's probably around like 10 years ago now. So the first version that I used was 2.48 was the first version that I opened up, I think. Maybe a bit earlier. I could look it up. I can recognize it on the based on the thumbnail, the splash screen artwork. But the first version that I actually really used was 2.56 or something. I don't know. It's been a while. But yeah, I've been also like using a few other programs just on and off and just kind of experimenting. But Blender was always like a go-to choice because it was free. Let's see. Can I just add a loop here? Okay. I should actually mark some edges by now. Like this is a sharp edge I want to have. So if I mark this, oh, not a seam. This is just, I'm not actually making this a sharp edge. I just want to tag it so that I remember which ones I want to be sharp. Same thing over here. This is a sharp edge. Here I don't quite recognize which one. Yeah, it must be this one. Yeah, these are sharp edges. And same thing over here. I want to have this as the sharp edge for the thumb. Same thing over here. This is a sharp edge. As well as this one. Okay, that's interesting, because it's not a sharp edge all the way. At some point, this one becomes the one at the center. That's fine, but it could be better. Okay. Some more questions. Have you always wanted to be a character artist? No. I don't think so. Well, characters were always fun, but the thing I started with primarily was actually, I would say like animation, maybe. It's like, I did logo animations for local studios around my hometown. That's like what I kind of started with. But then eventually, like, I just got really into characters, and that's what I stuck with. Do you ever use topology reference for difficult areas, or are you just problem solving your way through every time? I see someone ask. sometimes I use topology reference, but I at some point stopped doing that more and more. The reason for that is I noticed that while like topology reference can like give you a nice example of what clean topology looks like, it's not going to be a solution for every single character. Like, you need to somewhat tailor your topology towards the character you actually have. So that's what I'm doing right now with snow. With rain over here, I did the opposite approach. This is like the go-to like default topology where you can say this is clean, this works, and this can actually be used pretty much for every character. But this is also a very default character design, I would say. Like, except for some hard edges that I inserted in the face, for example. It's this sort of topology can be used for almost any style. Only for snow, I started to stylize the facial elements and like a lot of aspects of the character more, adding hard edges. And that's complicating things because you want to capture those hard edges and then you need to make a custom solution. But yes, I also need to get back into this. Let's see. It's looking good. I want this to be the sharp edge over here. I like how this aligns. Like, you can see how this loop really goes through all the fingers and the hand, and it looks exactly the same. It always aligns to this hard edge following the entire hand. So it's really clean. This should be the benchmark for the rest of the topology on the hand. Like basically all the topology. I like this. I'm gonna mark this as a sharp as well. I want to have this closer over here. Like this. Another question. How old are you? In my opinion, you look 24. Well, close enough. I'm 25. So, pretty good guess. Random question I see, do you also do Twitch? No, this is just on the Blender Studio account over here on YouTube. Well, but I actually wouldn't... I like streaming, to be honest. I wasn't sure if I would be so much into it, but I could see myself doing it more regularly, even privately. So, right now I'm really satisfied with just doing it via the studio. The Blender Studio. But if I wanted to, I think I could also just make my own channel and continue from there. Just do that in addition, I would say. Oof. Now it's getting difficult again. Hold on, I need to do the same thing over here. I added a center loop over here between all the fingers, and then I terminated them into a diamond. I should do the same thing over here between the thumb and the rest of the fingers. Like, I could. Maybe? Maybe I shouldn't. It's a bit dangerous. Okay, I'm just gonna add the loop. I guess just for the sake of having like one loop between these two poles, it's really useful. I don't need to terminate it like this. Okay, here we go. Can I actually just merge this? No. I think I need to get rid of one of these loops. Not sure how. Let's just try to remove this one. Smooth over this. Same thing over here. It's getting a bit thin right here. But I also can't just add another one. Huh. Let's see. Okay, now this is getting interesting. I'm gonna disable snapping again, just to extrude this upwards 2 times. Like this. Up here. And I'm gonna... I can just fill this in, that's perfect. Over here, it's getting a bit more difficult, but I could maybe just do this. Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna quickly check again with rain how I did it here. I think it's way less complicated. Yeah, it's just going pretty much more straight inwards. I only added 1 pole over here to get rid of the loop count. Yeah. Over here I'm doing it a bit more complicated. Let's push this down and smooth this out. Yeah, over here it's like shifting more towards the left over here into the thumb area. Maybe I can fix this a little bit. Maybe it's just a matter of placing the loops well. Yeah, by smoothing over it I'm getting rid of my like edge placement over here, which is not nice. I see some questions, but again, if you have any questions specifically towards me, you can just tag Blender Studio in the comments. Are you using any mods for the Retopology? How do you create new verts without extruding? This is actually like, there's only 1 or 2 add-ons I'm really using, like that, especially for modeling, and that's the F2 add-on and Loop Tools. They actually ship with Blender, so you can just go into the preferences, add-ons, and just search for F2 and Loop Tools, and you can just enable them. This is going to give you a lot more functionality, which is super useful. I'm going to delete this. Okay, how many do I have right here? This is now 18 vertices, and this is 11. It's a stark difference. So I need to get this down. I think I'm going to do the same trick over here that I did for rain, and that is to actually loop these 2 back into each other, which is really nice. They are basically the same. And that should make it really clean. And then I should do the same thing over here. Can I do it? No. No, that's fine. Where is it actually going? Oh, it's actually... Wait. Oh, it's actually just going back into here. Oh, it's missing the looping back over here. Just a little bit of OCD just looking at the topology. I want this to loop over here back into the other fingers and really make this thing complete. But it's fine. Which of the... I see more questions. Which of the characters have you made that you're most proud of? Ooh. Well, That's a good question. Well, I mean, I'm kind of proud of every character that I've made, to be honest. They all helped me learn a lot, and I would say with every one of them I made quite a few mistakes. So none of them are really perfect. But especially working at Blender, working on Spring, that taught me a lot because I did a lot of mistakes. And Rain was really, that was an educational project, really. Like, it was like I was just trying mainly to optimize my workflow. And I'm doing pretty much the same for Snow over here. But also other projects outside of the Blender studio, like when I worked on the short film Being Good by Jenny Harder. Like, I learned so much there. That was amazing. Some more questions. Maya, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max are similar, but Blender 2 different. Why? Sorry, I don't understand the question. Opinion on Retopology. I like it a lot. I wish it wouldn't post with like all the shortcuts that are typically in Blender, but I would love to use it more. Hello Blender Studio, awesome work, but I do have a question. Are you going to add the metacarpus bone detail on top of the hand? I think I know which bone you're talking about, but I'm gonna Google it anyway. Metacarpus bone. Yeah. Oh wait, I actually... Metacarpals. Oh. No, I mean, those like fine details, I would just leave them out, to be honest. I don't need them. Another question. What is your PC spec? You can find it in the description, actually. And let me get back to the topology. Again, all of these live streams are kind of like 1.5 to 2 hours long. I also want to get something done. So now this is 14. That's awesome, because going from 11 to 14 in the arm is not too difficult. So I think it's like, ooh, yes. So now it's already 13. Just adding that loop. And then I could like add another one over here. It's like, I'm just gonna bevel this one, so it's 2. I'm just gonna bevel it a little bit, because the rest of the way I just want to slide the edge loop like this. So it's already a bit more spaced out. I can like with a slide relax brush go over it and smooth it out a bit more, like this. You can also increase the opacity of wireframes. Wait, let's actually switch. Nah, I'm not gonna use Eevee. Although, no. Yeah, maybe just switch to like a more default lighting template, like this. What is this? What is? Wait. World space lighting makes the HDR rotation fixed and not follow the camera. And not follow the camera. Okay, so if I turn this off, now the HDRI is gonna follow the camera. I always got confused which one it is, like which way around. Another question. Okay, no problem. Thank you for answering my question. Much appreciated, dude. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you. Directly under that, there's a question about the Blender theme. You can also find that in the description. I really want to become an environment artist, but my PC is pretty weak. What is your recommendation for me to do? Well, yeah, that's like it also it kind of depends on the style. Like, You can do some amazing artworks even with a low spec PC, but it's gonna be a bit slower and difficult. That's true. I would say like do as much as you can. Like it kind of in a way forces you to work a bit more efficiently with the hardware that you have. I mean, people 20 years ago did amazing environment art, and they didn't have amazing specs. So it's really just about finding a workflow that actually works with the hardware that you have. Okay, let's see. What am I doing? I can just extrude this out. Extrude this out. Can I actually merge these? No. But I can scale them down. Haha! These are two separate objects. I'm just in edit mode on both of them. And now I can just like scale these towards each other. I don't want to join these two objects yet. But I at least want to make sure that that they align over here. So I can just immediately merge them whenever I wanted to. Wait, are they actually mismatching? No, no, no. It's perfect. Okay. So I can just scale these down, rotate them, rotate these guys as well, scale them down like this. Perfect. Yeah, this is aligning really well. So now I can just like go into sculpt mode on this guy, smooth this out a bit. I have the 3 loops on the wrist. This is perfect. And I think I have the shortcut on Control T. You can just like press D, and this is going to be in the latest release. I'm using an alpha version of 3.0, but in the really shortly upcoming 3.0 release, there's this feature that you can just point at an object in sculpt mode, press D, and it will just immediately switch between them. This is a feature, like we're planning to bring this to even more modes and more object types, but right now it's just available for sculpt mode. Okay, but this is looking good. I'm happy with this, I would say. Like, it's a bit weird that this is like bending away from the back of the hand and into the thumb, but it's not too bad. And there's a very short amount of loops in the thumb area here, but it's enough, I would say. If I go into edit mode, I can tweak this a bit more. Bring this even a bit closer. Like this. Okay, this is where it gets difficult. I want to like move some of these loops closer together to highlight some edges, but here it's getting really thin. I cannot add another loop that's too intertwined everywhere. Difficult. But anyway, there's more questions. Is the 3.0 version still in beta? Yes, it's actually in alpha. So this is, when it's in alpha, it's actually the moment where all the new features get developed and added. Once it gets into beta, it's feature locked, and it's just bug fixing and improving the performance and like basically just polishing it. And then once it's released, it should be ready. How long did you take to learn how to retopologize? Well, I'm still learning. I would say, like, just like with anything, you've never learned enough. I still frequently get into like moments where I don't know what to do during retopology. It's an open-ended puzzle, so you can have a deep understanding of topology, but that doesn't mean that you're going to just be a master at doing a good topology for everything. There's always going to be tricky situations, and you need to find a solution. But yeah, I basically learned it over the years. I did so much topology on various characters that eventually it just became much easier. But never effortless. Another question, can we do ZBrush-like sculpting with Blender? Yes, I mean you can. You can't go quite as high poly, and there's like some features from ZBrush that are not available in Blender. But in general, like every software has its strong and weak points. I would say like the fact that I can go into sculpt mode and edit mode, like in between, switch between, and actually use sculpting brushes for retopology is like amazing. In general, like sculpt mode in Blender is evolving much more into a mode which lets you freely edit and transform geometry. It's not just for clay sculpting. Another question: when do things Blender will become a 3D industry standard? When does Blender become a 3D industry standard? I would say it's already is, or it's already becoming one. It's even like 6 years ago, it was interesting to see how studios which rely on short deadlines and like especially in the like in certain industries, it became more of a tool that people were freely choosing. And it really depends on what you're working at. Blender has strong and weak points. And I think one of the most solid advices that I constantly see online is that Blender is really great for concepting, or like concept artists. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, because you can work really fast in Blender. And if your standards of where you want to get isn't as like too high budget, like you don't want to make like a 100 million polygon Godzilla sculpt, then yeah, you can. If you don't want to do that, if you just want to do something quick that looks really good in a minimum amount of time, then Blender is a really good choice. It sounds kind of bad, like, I guess it's really easy to spin it into a negative, but I really mean it in a positive way. Blender's toolset is really well suited to being a jack of all trades. So you can just work fast and effortlessly in one software. Again, if you have any questions, you can just tag me. But I also see like other questions like the typical question, which one is better, Eevee or Cycles? Neither. It's like, of course, you can do some things in Cycles which you can't do in Eevee, and vice versa. But you can also use both interchangeably, which is amazing. You can use Eevee as like kind of a previous engine, and that's also the reason why this third mode over here exists, viewport shading, material preview mode, which is only using Eevee, because Eevee is the best choice for that. Cycles is great for final rendering, but if you want to see something quick, just for pre-visualization, Eevee is actually working really well for that. Maybe that will change with Cycles X. I don't know. At least Cycles will be even faster to use, which is definitely a plus. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Man. Yeah, I definitely need to model on top of this once, like for the, I don't expect the final fingernails to come out of this pass of the retopology, because it's really just shrink wrapping on top of the sculpt. And the sculpt has some weaknesses there. I need to at least get the right topology, and then the placement of these vertices can change afterwards to just fit this model much more. Like this. I can just push some of these vertices around. I can push this up. I at least want this to align. And that's fine. I think I'm done with the hand. It connects well to the arm. The arm, I think, is also looking really nice. There's only this weird part over here, which I'm not sure about. I wanted to highlight this edge. And this one over here. And then this, of course, is also still a bit tricky. Oh well. I hope it works. It should. There we go. I can just smooth this out over here. Also in the middle. I see some more questions. Best resource for mastering Blender? Blender docs versus Blender Cloud videos, or both? Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. There's no one go-to resource for mastering something. But I mean, I would say like a lot of the content on the Blender Cloud is more catered towards intermediate and advanced users. That's true. There's some beginner-friendly content, but it's a bit more sparse. Apart from that, I mean, I really love the tutorial content from Gleb Alexandrov and AD Burrows. They do some really somewhat beginner-friendly stuff, but also I learn a lot from that. Like I'm watching their content and it's always great. Definitely seek out specific content. Like when I wanted to know more about retopology, I was like buying a book and watching content on from Brian Tyndall. And if you seek out very specific content towards one subject, you're going to learn a lot more. There's always going to be beginner tutorials that cover everything, but it's maybe not the best way to go. Okay, I'm gonna fix this now. Look, okay, I'm gonna add a loop over here, and I'm gonna slide this one in. This will be my new center loop. Let's see. Clear sharp. I'm gonna slide this one in. Oh, sorry. Deselect all of this. And this is gonna be my new sharp. Okay. There we go. Problem is, now I have an additional loop over here, which I could solve. Yeah, I can just merge this. I hope. Maybe not. Maybe this is a stupid decision. This might bite me later on. Yeah, because this is gonna be a six-sided vertex. I'm gonna add another loop over here to add a bit more resolution. Like this. And this is pretty much fine over here on the back. Okay. Now before I go into more detail on anything else, I want to somehow find a way to connect the head over here. And one of the things that's definitely the case is this area over here, this trick that I'm doing, is way too high, I think. This is still in an area that will deform a lot. So can I, oh gee, oh, okay. X symmetry, can I push this down? Oh, maybe not, because it's... Oh, it's snapping to the... Oh, this is interesting. I need to fix this somehow. Also another question in the chat. What version is it? It's the version 3.0 alpha. But this is right now pretty much almost the same as 2.93. There's not much of a difference. Okay. There's a shrink wrap group, which I am going to flip. No, I'm going to exclude the lower part of the neck from it. So I'm gonna actually assign it. Now all the red areas are not gonna be shrink wrapped. And I'm gonna make another group, and that's called neck. And I'm going to actually assign this to that vertex group. Okay. Now I want to add another shrink wrap. And only shrink wrap the neck to the body. Okay, this should work. So I have two shrink wrap modifiers. Most of the head is shrink wrap to the head sculpt that I did. And then towards the lower parts, it's just shrink wrapping to the body sculpt, because I have them as two separate meshes actually. Okay, now I can actually drag this further down, and it works. Well, it's freaking out a little bit. Oh, don't have asymmetry. Yeah, I don't know why. Why is it freaking out on me? It's really weird. What if I... Oh, that's why. Of course. Okay. So I want to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier so that it actually... Yes. Now the sculpt mode behavior is fixed. This is why we need live snapping. Okay. So what I want is I want this part down here to be as much as possible. Oh, come on. As much as possible down here. I did the same for rain, where the loops are kind of terminating between the collarbones. And that's actually a nice spot because it is in between a lot of moving parts, but that part itself is not really moving. So it's a nice place to like have a lot of this density. Okay, now I want to slide some of the stuff back in. I can add another loop here. Like this. Now all of this is still supposed to like go inwards, follow those like muscles. Down here I can like relax this a bit more. Okay. This is better. And then I can work more on the rest around it. Okay, let's bring back the body retopology. And now I need to get actually rid of some of this stuff. Like for example, this loop, I'm just gonna delete it. Yeah, some of this stuff could like connect really easily, but not all of it. Let's see, can I like, what if I get rid of this? Move this one down. Yeah, this should connect really easily, actually. Should be fine. Okay, and this should connect really well to the body. That's it. I don't know why I see the other objects through this. Oh, because they're all in front, of course. Okay. I see a question. What do you think about meta-humans? Well, I mean, it's an amazing time saver. Like, every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't need to make realistic human models anymore. Well, I think that was actually meta-human. It was the epic thing. Meta-human. Yes. Unreal. Or is it meta-human created? Yeah, Unreal. It's amazing. But, I mean, this is like... I wonder if it, like, removes the need for making... like main characters. There's always still going to be a need to make those manually if you want to really have control over that. You don't want your main characters to look too default. Let's see. Okay, can I loop this back into itself? I think that should be fine. Okay, let's see. You can merge these. Like this. Nope. Can add another loop right here. Just because I want this one to be the sharp. There we go. I might need to look at Rain's topology again for some reference. Because even though this topology I think is not too bad, it's not aligning over here. Okay, wait. I can actually like keep looping this one in towards the neck. Does it actually... Oh my god. It is actually the perfect loop count? No. No, over here there's still more. For a moment I was like, it's going to align perfectly. No. Over here there's way more loops. And I can't just add more loops into the arm. Not out of nothing. Wait. I could add another loop over here. I can't over here because it's just going to lead further into the hand. But this one is looping around. So that's definitely possible. I can resolve this issue over here where I would have this six-sided edge. The six-sided pole. I'm gonna go into edit mode on both of them. Like this. Oh man. Let's see. Can I do this? Yes, I can like add another loop over here. Now this should match up. how many do I need? That's the thing. Go. Like this, and then I need 2 more over here. That's a lot. So I can add them. That's fine. But then these are going to go into the arm. And I need to figure out where they should continue into the arm. Smooth over this a little bit. I think that should be fine, but where do those 2 loops go? I can't just add them here, they're directly going back into the hand. Well, I guess I could add them there, and they're just gonna... Yeah, let's try this. So I'm gonna add them over here. 2 more loops. Like this. But then they need to also... Wait, these are the ones. Okay, I'm gonna mark them not as a sharp but as a seam just for a moment, because I want these to loop back into themselves. I could do that actually on the hand. I could. Let's see. By just picking these over here. Yeah, I'm gonna inset this, press B to not inset along the boundary, and then this should work. By the way, this is also a sharp. Okay, and then this should align. Oh. I think that's acceptable. Like, it's not super clean, but those loops need to go somewhere, so better have them go there. It's a bit close to the wrist, but it shouldn't be a problem, I think. Okay, we can clear the seam. So this is all now, well, aligning. I need to move this inwards. Let's see. Oh no, I actually snapped it. Slide this in. Extrude this out. Fill this in. Yeah, these need to connect. Damn it. Huh. Still doesn't match perfectly well, but I could add another... No, I can't. Aha. There's one too many loops over here. Let's see. Oh, I actually need to slide these down. They are needed over here. Over here, this is where they connect. This is where this one connects. This one connects. This one connects. And I have 1, 2, few loops over here. Huh. Well, that's interesting, because that means I can actually... can actually just move all of this down here. I don't know. I'll just have to see. I can just add an extra loop over here. Sorry if this is a bit boring. It's really just about troubleshooting it right now. There we go. Just counting loops, seeing where they actually align, and not merging, like not merging anything, not joining objects, just seeing where they go. Because right now it's still really easy to add or remove loops based on what you need. Just going between objects over here. And again, there's 1 too many loops. Just merge this. Yeah, I could just do this. Screw it. This is where they meet. And I'm gonna get rid of this again. Like this. Yeah, now it aligns. This is the, like, with a body topology, this is the trickiest part, I think. Like, it's really easy to make, like, or like, it's relatively easy to make a good topology for a certain area. Oh, wow. What is going on over here? Okay, fixed. But making everything connect in the end, all of these loops leading back into each other, that can be hell. I see some questions. Is 3.0 available to download? Yes, you can just download it on the blender.org website. It's in the experimental builds page though, because it is alpha. It's in the alpha stage right now. Some more questions. Do you have a tip to do knee, shoulders, and other connected limbs easier? Well, definitely keep them separate, like I said. But I don't know. Yeah, it's really about the how they connect. That's the trickiest part. Apart from that, you can really, I don't know. There's like good topology guides online. I like the ones that CG Cookie actually did quite a few years ago. They're still really valid, and they give you a good idea of where the loops can more ideally flow. Okay, this is good. Another one. This stuff is boring. Watching you identify an issue and resolving that issue, it's the best part. Thank you. I'm glad people are enjoying it. Okay, let's see. Wait, this was aligning before. I'm not keeping count very well. Well, here's the thing. I did this looping around in the neck earlier, and I think now it's really saving me, because now I can just add a loop over here, and now they align again. That's perfect. I should also enable the modify again, and now over here there's, I think, one loop too many. Yeah, but I can just remove it. That's fine. And then smooth over this a bit. Wrong brush. Slide relax is much better. Sliding or just smoothing over this. Smoothing over this part. That's it. And now all of this is perfectly aligned. Nice. So if I would want to merge these parts, it's really easy. Perfect. And now I can just continue with the lower body. I think it's time. Well, one of the things I would like to add is definitely the belly button. For that I can like add another loop over here. So I have a let's see, a 4x4 grid, like a 4 faces grid over here. I can just inset it. Press B to not inset it on the border, because that's there's actually a border here, like this. And I'm going to just scale this down really far. I want this to be in the center, and then additional loops over here to define the shape. Another one over here. Fan this one out a bit. And again, it's the same principle about like, you have like the loop that is like meant to be the sharp edge, the one that defines a crease or something like that. You don't want poles on this. Here are the poles. You keep them around the sharp edge. Now I can just go into sculpt mode with the slide relax brush, just smooth over this a bit. And it just distributes it a bit more nicely. Like this. And perfect. Still love this brush. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. I think I am actually going to add an additional edge loop over here. Just a bit of extra topology to capture this shape right here. This hard edge. Yeah. I'm still wondering how much I actually want to capture here. There's like a very particular shape over here on the side. And I could like shift this around a bit to make this more prominent. Like this. But this one? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just gonna cut some corners and say no, I don't need this. I can apply this a little bit by just adding enough geometry. Like, yeah. So if I add the subdivision surface modifier and just remove the wireframes from it, you can already notice the biggest shapes, but I'm gonna later show you how, later on in the time lapses, the stream, sorry, I'm going to show how this can be done more reliably, like actually capturing the shapes and the volumes that were lost in the retopology. There we go. Okay, now, what am I gonna do? So, let's switch to the cursor tool and actually change the snapping to volume for a moment, and then I can just snap to the, snap to the center of the leg. Now the cursor is in the center of the leg. And I can just add a cylinder with, let's just start with 8 connected edges. It's way too, it's not enough, but it's a good start. So I can scale this down. Now I have the legs. I can separate this into its own object. Oh, and I should get rid of these edges. Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
I should drink something. Ah. See someone ask, how are you? I'm doing fine. A bit tired, but this is still fun. Okay, so I'm gonna add 2 more edges here and 2 more edges here. Now this is 12 edges, which is a bit better for this geometry, I think. Oh, I'm gonna duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier. Huh. Oh, I still have a vertex group over here. I don't need this. At least not for the legs. Now, I can actually shear this. I like this a lot more than rotating. Oh, I should also disable snapping. So you could rotate this and then scale it up, but it's a bit unreliable. It also skews the geometry a bit, but with shearing, especially the shearing tool, which is amazing, you can much more easily, yeah, I mean, it's called shearing. I don't know if it's clear what it does based on that name, but it is like scaling it kinda, I don't even know how to describe it actually. Okay, here I want to actually check out the topology for rain because, yes, I don't need to really worry too much about the legs. I can just, that's the thing, like, for the cheeks over here, these creases, capturing them and keeping the topology clean is really tricky. I see someone say in the chat, 99% of the time I shear works way better. I agree. Like, if you want to be precise, check out what shearing does in Blender. It's a really nice way of like rotating / scaling your loops. Okay, so I can like add more geometry. I'm just gonna move this down. Oh, it's actually not shrink wrapping anymore. Okay, perfect. Now it does. Let's change this to a circle with loop tools and scale it down along the z-axis so it's actually well aligned. Rotate it a little bit, and now I can just like move this down even more. Rotate the extrude it further towards the wrist. What is it? Not the wrist. The wrist for the foot. The ankles. Yes, and the foot I'm gonna do that afterwards. Actually, I'm gonna move this more up. Okay, let's duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier. Boy. And disable the subdivision surface modifier. I don't need it right now. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so this is the most basic setup right now. Just checking the chat. Ah, yes. Thanks for managing the chat, Mike. Okay. So how do I do this? Like add some more loops. Oh Jesus, using the wrong brush. Slide relax, I can like move this around a bit more. Relax it. Keeping a bit of distance from the crease over here. I mean, I'm gonna remove that one anyway later on. I don't need it for the retopology. So now this is interesting. Okay, I definitely want to take these and inset them like 2 times. Because then this edge over here is the sharp in the middle of them. And like sculpt over this a bit, smooth it out. Like this. That's it. Over here I can remove the sharp because I only want it over here. Can move this one up. No. Oh, there's a similar thing going on over here. Yeah, I can just inset this. Let's try that. 2 times. Smooth over it a bit with a brush. And this is gonna be the knee. Let's see if that works. I can like push this up. Yeah, I'm gonna lose a bit of definition on the sides, but that's maybe fine. So the model is gonna change a bit. Or the design of it, just a little bit around the knees. But that shouldn't be too bad because in probably, unless I ever add another outfit to Snow, you're never going to see the knees. So this should be okay. Right now it's not planned, but I want to keep the options at least open. I don't want to retopologize this again at some point. Okay, so this is a sharp edge, and then this here in the middle is a sharp edge. Let's see if that works. For that I need to push this a bit more up. These loops over here need to be close to that line. I can like push it also in edit mode, that's fine. I think I need to add another loop over here. Like this. Now I have the 2 loops over here which are surrounding this sharp edge and 2 loops which are surrounding this hard edge. Kinda. Can like smooth over this over here a bit. Although I would love to maybe add, let's see, I can like move this one up. Move this one up as well. So this is much more on that hard edge. Like this. Like that. Okay. Oh yeah. Tag me in the chat if you want me to see it more easily. Because then it just shows up for me as like this bright orange text. And I can immediately see it. Will the body use displacement? I know you've modeled the face in. Well, I'm not going to use any displacement textures or displacement modifiers. I want to, all the shapes that are supposed to be there, I want to capture them in the retopology. So that's like, I mean, it's a conscious decision that I'm making for the character because it's not too realistic. It's pretty stylized, so I should be able to capture everything I need in the topology. But displacement is also a fine option for more complex characters, I would say. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is working nicely. I want to add another loop over here. This is getting a bit thin. But overall, the amount of loops over here seem to be working really well. And what I can do is over here is just align this loop a bit differently because I noticed that it's like a bit slanted over here. And add like 2 more loops right here to kind of capture this sharp. And then interestingly enough, this is also a sharp edge. So I probably want to keep that. So I'm going to keep this one close. At least one loop. And then I can like add 2 more loops over here. Maybe 3 more loops over here. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is actually a nice trick that I learned. Like if you want to like extend this, and not like move it down, but actually slide it along the edges over here. Like you can press GG, so G twice to slide it up, but you can't slide it along the edge, like outside of where that geometry is. But if you press C, you can actually remove clipping or clamping, I think it's called. And then you can just slide it further. So that's actually really helpful. Okay. I'm gonna smooth this out a bit over here as well. Over here. Okay, even though I'm now losing this hard edge, I think, yep. Should like move this, slide this back a bit, like that. Perfect. I wonder if this works really well right here. It's looking a bit awkward, but I think it's fine. These patches. I think it's fine. There we go. More questions. How long does this usually take you? Well, I would say I could do this way faster. Especially if I wouldn't be so picky right now about the details. But I would say like a week at least for the retopology is a good time. Like right now, retopology on the main characters for Sprite are taking a long time, and that's also just because we need these characters to perform in a very specific way, and that's calling for very specific topology. Let's see. So does it mean it will be rendered with a smooth modifier? Also, what are the sharp edges for? I see someone ask. Yeah, it's gonna be rendered with a subdivision surface modifier. Definitely a requirement. So it should really, this model should work well when subdivided. All the details are supposed to shine. And the sharp edges are just a way for me to annotate important edges for me right now. I just want to keep some of them in mind. They are not supposed to do anything, it's really just a visual reminder. I use sharp edges because they are kind of like a nice reminder of like these edges are supposed to be the sharp ones. So I need 2 loops around them to capture a sharp edge. So once it gets subdivided, it is actually going to be sharp. Let's see. Now, this is gonna be tricky. I can like extrude this further upwards, like this. And then I can extrude these inwards. I'm gonna keep it like really simple for now. Let's actually do it another way. So now I just extrude it like this, extrude it up again, and now just keep going. So essentially there's like these cylindrical loops over here, like this entire thing, and then it transitions over here into these square patches to close this off. And for that I need this pole over here. I see some more questions. Is the pattern you used for Retopology on the back and the front of the knees the best way to get nice bending legs? Kinda. I mean, I would say this topology is really nice for keeping the sharp edges in here. And typically the default that I'm kind of going for is this. You have these circular loops going around. And essentially what I did here is really just... Oh, wait. Oh, here, let me actually get some of these settings over here. So if you would like... I can't actually edit this, interesting. But yes, essentially I just inset this small part over here, but the most essential part for the knee is just that you have like 3 loops around the knee. This is like way more. That's why I'm saying the rain topology is also not ideal. It's way too much topology. But for any joint, it's just the most important thing is that you have 3 loops right here on the part that is deforming. That way, like over here, I also try to keep it that way by just having, I mean, in a way, these ones are like, wait. Yeah, I would say like these ones are acting as the 3 loops over here, potentially. That's why I'm wondering if it would be best to kind of, I don't know, push these a bit more inwards. I think it would be nice. I can like push this a bit more up, like this. It's not, I don't know if it's like the best topology. There's a lot of different solutions online. Everyone is doing kind of their own thing a bit. But I think this is pretty well. This is pretty good. This can be pretty easily rigged, I think. Let's see. Well, I mean, if there's any riggers among the chat, maybe they can like... Maybe they also have some opinions on like what would be even easier to rig. That would be amazing. Let's see. Some more questions. What method are you using to create the clothing? Modeling or Marvelous Designer? I'm just gonna model them by hand. I don't need like any realistic folds or anything. The folds I did for Rain are also pretty stylized and very minimal. There's barely any folds. And my plan right now is really to just duplicate parts of the body topology and build the clothing from that. That way also the amount of loops and the general topology is pretty much aligning with the body. That will just make it a bit easier to prevent clipping between them. Or just easier to transfer the weights anyway. You could just transfer the weights from the body to the clothing. It's like a general trick that like riggers use a lot, I think. Wouldn't it be better to crease the important edges? Keep it clean and mark them. Oh, creasing them, yeah, as in like marking the edges as a crease like this. Sometimes I like this approach, but it's a bit ugly because it is actually just, it's not adding any more definition to the creases, it's just preventing the edges to be smoothed by the subdivision surface modifier. So I like by default to just add more loops because it's just going to make the edges more crisp. Another question. Wait, I like the retopology where you open it like a mouth and close it with 2 diamonds. Oh yeah. That's true. That's also really nice. And I mean, I generally also do that a lot for like, I think here I did it very little, but it's a nice solution. I did it a lot for the clothing on Rain, where loops are just kind of like, get like, one loop gets divided into 3 with a diamond, and then on shortly after it gets closed off with a diamond again. It's hard to explain actually. Another question, when do you think this rig is going to be available? I'm not sure, because this is not the main task I'm working on right now. This is just a side task next to the actual film production of Sprite Fright. So I really am just getting 2 hours a week for this. Once this is retopologized, I still need to do the UVs. And after that, there's also still a lot of other stuff to do, like the texturing and shading. And then, yeah, it's a lot of work actually. So I'm not sure when it will be available. I hope it won't take too long. Let's see. But it could still take a lot of time. But I at least want to make the entire, even though the character won't be available very soon, I want the entire creation of the character to be available. So that's why I'm basically creating these streams. It's just the unedited raw creation. Where I'm not going to even try to rush anything, just really go through the entire process. Okay, duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier so everything snaps nicely back. Like smooth over this with the slide relax brush a little bit. Like this. Distribute the topology a bit more. Perfect. Now, does this actually align? I have the topology for the legs. I want it to align to the topology of the upper body. Oh, wait. Shade smooth. Actually enable subdiv. Yeah. Go into edit mode on both of them. Also more questions. Will there be ever a new rigging course on the cloud? I hope so. It's not really up to me. Maybe the Meta, our rigger, feels inspired to do a rigging course. I'm not sure. But it is really down to the availability of the artists to make the content. It's a bit... I wish there would be more time to make that sort of stuff, but mainly we're working on the movies right now. So this 12 vertices, this is 14. Perfect. I can just add one over here. This is going to add like another loop on the backside and the front. And then this should be perfectly aligning. Hold on. I'm just gonna scale these down so I know these are supposed to be merged later on. This is a bit awkward, maybe. Let's see, scale these down. Scale these down. Scale these down. Oh yeah, there's actually one too many loops. Really? This is 14? This is 14? What? Oh yeah, over here. It is the perfect amount of loops. It's just not aligned perfectly. So now I know that over here all of these can meet and later merge. I just need to make sure that the topology is nice. Wait, there we go. Save. Disable the subdivision surface modifier again. I want to move this a bit more towards the sides, towards the center. Smooth over it. Oh, and I'm also going to enable mesh boundary automasking. Sorry. This will make sure that I'm not actually sculpting on the boundary. So this is gonna get pinned. Because I already aligned those. I don't want that to change. Like that. I think I actually need to turn it on over here again. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna smooth a lot over this. I want this to be more evenly distributed. And then with D, I can just switch over to this object. Oh boy. And smooth over this as well. Like this. Well, what am I doing actually? This is supposed to like capture a certain shape. I shouldn't move this around a lot. Yeah. There we go. I'm ignoring the chat a bit. Some more questions. Is this a solo project? Maybe. So far it was. I was creating the concept, the sculpts, and now doing the retopology. And I'm probably also going to continue with the other parts. But I'm not going to do the rigging. I would even be okay with someone else, maybe Simon, doing the shading of the character. But only if he's interested in doing it. Like Simon Thomas, who's also working at the studio. So I would be fine with this being more of a collaborative project with other artists. Let's see. Awesome. So I got the retopology done also for this part. Although maybe I should add another loop over here. This is really it needs to be a bit more geometry. Like this. Same over here. I can just smooth over this with the slide relax brush and it just immediately works. Another question, do you make photorealistic characters? Not typically. I was sometimes like in my free time sculpting like some realistic character heads, but actually like some of them I never showed to everyone to anyone online. It's like just private projects that were never completely finished. I should work a bit more on them. But yes, mostly like sometimes I sculpt realistic characters. It's not that often, but it's fun to do it. Or like also semi-realistic. I always love to put a bit of stylization in. Truly realistic is sometimes just, I don't know, maybe it's a bit more boring for me. There we go. I'm actually going to add another loop over here, even though it's not really necessary. Okay, perfect. The last thing that is needed is the topology for the foot. I still have 10 minutes, theoretically. And then the topology for the body, I would say, is done. So that's exciting. I could like add, let's see. I'm gonna add a cube. I'm gonna start real simple for the foot. Actually, you know what? I don't usually do this, but in this case, maybe I could reuse the foot topology from Rain. This was also just started from a cube. There's only like certain like small differences, like this little diamond which I added to terminate these 3 loops into one. And then I also terminated some loops over here with diamonds going into the toes. But I don't know, this could save me a bit of time. So I can like select all of this, separate this into a new object. I'm just gonna quickly go out of full screen, remove some shape keys. Yeah, remove all of these shape keys, all of these vertex groups, the color, the parenting. I'm just gonna copy the object with Control-C, go into my other file, and over here I'm just gonna go Control-V, and I have the foot, which is actually way too big. Oops. I remember now that originally when I modeled Rain, she was at the wrong scale. But now I have a foot to start working from. Maybe this is a bit disappointing, I'm sorry, but this will save me a lot of time. So I can just go into sculpt mode, set the color to random so I can tell the objects apart way more from each other. And I can like move this around a bit more, just so the shape is kind of matching Snow's foot. There we go. And I think what I'm gonna do now is, let's see. Okay, so I have the topology. I think this is fine. I'm going to adjust it in a moment, a bit more. Wow, I even added a triangle to the foot because I didn't care for Rain's topology on the foot. Okay. Okay, I'm going to just Control L, copy the modifiers from the other object. And there we go. Okay, I'm gonna toggle a lot of stuff. Oh. Apply, duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifier. There we go. And just moving some of this stuff around. Oh, Jesus. Perfect. I'm gonna quickly just isolate these two objects with local view. There we go. Yep, perfect. Can like smooth over this part a bit more. Nice. But just like with rain, I don't care too much about the feet. I really don't care because the topology, I mean, that can be fine. This is already looking well, except for that one triangle here. So I'm gonna get rid of that. But I really want this to just be a size reference for the shoes, really. They're actually just gonna be hidden. I see another question where I'm tagged. What are your settings for X-ray? The way your wireframe shows over the source is awesome. Well, I don't have X-ray enabled right now, but I just could. I also just use the extra shading options for the shading pie menu, which is an option in the key and the key map. So I can just immediately toggle X-ray with this. I set the X-ray slider to 1 pretty much always, because then it just shows the wires in X-ray, but the geometry and all the faces are not going to be transparent. And then the other thing is I enabled hidden wire, which just makes it that the faces are hidden, but they're still occluding everything behind them. So this is like a really amazing overlay for Retopology. And there's still the plan to eventually improve it even further and then rename it to the Retopology overlay, which makes a lot of sense, I think. Okay. Nice. Oh wow, this even aligns over here. It's perfect. With the ankles. Although, like, one thing I do notice, because I like copied this over from Rain, the poly count is way too high. This is not going to go together with the foot without problem. With the leg, I mean. This is going to be problematic. And I'm even adding extra loops right now, like a madman. Oh my god. I need to just remove some loops over here. Like this. Ooh. Can I just remove this one maybe? Oh, I should enable auto merge editing again. Let's see. This is awkward. I think I'm just actually adding this back. Ooh, slide relax brush, smooth over it, and it's going to keep the shape. But I removed some loops. A couple. Can also remove this one. Okay, how many is this now? This is 27 vertices. That's a lot. That is a lot. So what do I do? Because this one has only 14. I can delete this one. Let's see. Oh, some more questions. What are you... hidden wire, that's the one. Yes. That's a really nice tip, just using this for Retopology, the hidden wire overlay. But again, like some people notice that I'm using a solidify modifier at the very end here, and that's because that will then hide the faces that are showing through the sculpt, like through all the other objects. And if you have a solidify modifier, it's actually just obscuring them. So that's a neat little trick. Okay, so I'm gonna extrude this up, extrude this down, so they kind of meet. Okay, this is already perfect, that these are meeting over here. And I'm guessing that the same could apply over here, but I'm not gonna try that yet. What I would like to try here is to do this. To have this kind of as a circular patch that is leading back into itself. And that way I get rid of some of these loops. And I already notice now that this is working way better. I would still maybe remove one of these. Let's see. Okay, there's still too many. Like, I could like scale these towards each other. This one aligns. That's nice. This one aligns. This one aligns. Oh, these two. These two align. These two align. This is perfect. Now, these two align. It's great. These do. It just keeps going, but... oh, over here I need to do the same trick, of course. All the way up here. Perfect. Now these align. These align. There's one too many over here. And one too many over here. Two, actually. That's a bit tricky. Well, I mean, the easy way out would be to just fill this in like this over here. It's not pretty, but it works. But there's still one too many loops over here. And because it's the foot, we never see it. Like, I don't really care. I'm gonna do, again, the same thing. I'm gonna add a triangle. Screw it. Yeah, I'm gonna just add a triangle there. So now it actually aligns. I can keep this going over here. Perfect. I can smooth over this. There we go. Like that. Another question. Does backface culling not take care of those faces that you're hiding with the solidify modifier? No, it doesn't. That's a bit sad. It does hide the faces, but the faces are already hidden because of the hidden wires overlay. But the backface culling doesn't hide wires. That should be fixed at some point, but it's just a matter of updating the overlay to be a bit more smart about this. Okay. Nice. I'm pretty much out of time, and I think the last thing that I could do right now is because... yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay. The last thing is to actually, since I'm pretty happy with the topology, I could apply the shrink wrap modifier, which means I will have it like basically done. I could like merge all of these objects, but I want to show you how to keep the original volumes and the details intact. So let me actually just take all of these objects from the body, all of these, and merge them with Ctrl J. wait. Oh yeah, my custom shortcut was J. I need to fix that. Okay, now this is all one object. Perfect. I can select these two edge loops and just bridge them. Bridge edge loops. And one of them I can then just slide into the other. Like that. Same thing over here. I can just select these two edge loops. Ooh, there's one little rogue vertex, I guess. Yeah. Select these two edge loops, bridge the edge loops, slide one into the other. Like that. Same thing over here. Select these two, bridge, slide one into the other. And on the ankle, bridge, slide. And it's just immediately merging because I'm using auto merge editing. So now I can just also clean this up a bit more, smooth over it just a little bit. Just a little bit. But overall this is looking nice. This I need to arrange a little bit nicer like this. But I'm being a bit careful with the sliding and relaxing with a brush because I don't want to destroy any details. Okay, and I haven't merged the head with it yet, and that has a specific reason. I'm gonna do that afterwards. But this is the body topology. Awesome. This is looking pretty good. Yeah, this is working fine. Okay. And again, around the pelvis, I just left it a bit more simple because I didn't want to bother too much about the details there. They weren't that important. Okay, perfect. So now the thing is, let's say I'm adding the subdivision surface modifier. You can notice how it actually loses a lot of definition. And this is like always an issue with retopology. Like the more subdivisions you have, the more you can actually capture those details. Like if I move the subdivision surface modifier on top of the shrink wrap, it actually, like, you can see how much it actually shrink wraps to it, but with less geometry and then subdivision afterwards, it loses that definition. But there's a trick on how to keep this definition. I like to use this a lot. So let's actually apply a lot of these modifiers. I'm gonna keep a duplicate version of the shrink wrap, and I'm gonna disable the subdivision surface modifier for now and the solidify. And now I'm going to add a multi-res modifier. So I'm gonna subdivide this like 2 times. Yeah, let's say 2 times. And you can notice like now this is subdivided and the shrink wrap modifier is on top. And it's then shrink wrapping all of the details back to the geometry. But then what you can do is you can actually apply the shrink wrap modifier, and now it is actually applied not on the base topology, but on top of the multi-res subdivisions. Like I could just go into sculpt mode and sculpt on this further. But since there is a nice little button that is called apply base, what this does is it will try to fit the base topology to the higher subdivisions as much as possible. So if I'd like turn the viewport subdivisions down to 0 and I click on apply base, you notice how everything shifted. It expanded a bit, it gained volume, and what this now did is it tried to match the lowest resolution as much as possible if you would subdivide it, so it would result into the higher subdivisions. So if I now just remove the subdivision surface modifier and instead use the remove the multi-res and instead use the subdivision surface modifier, you notice all of those details are back. It's just like all of those creases and it tried to get as much of it back, and if I like hide the retopology, and we just like toggle between the two, they are much more indistinguishable. This saves a lot of time. So this is usually like the final step that I'm doing. But still over here, I'm noticing that like there's like some more things that I could be doing. Like I could like, well, first of all, I'm going to get my mirror modifier back. Delete one side and add a mirror modifier. Where is it? Oh my god. Okay. Apply the location and rotation. Actually also the scale. Yeah. There we go. One of the things I noticed is that this kind of sharp edge over here was lost a bit. So I'm like pushing this a bit more in. Yeah, this is too much, but I'm just gonna slide it back. Yeah, this helps. Yeah. Same thing over here, but I don't mind that it's lost a bit more. Like I can like push this up. By the way, I also enabled the subdivision modifier on the cage, so it actually shows me directly on the wires how the subdivision modifier is affecting it, the geometry. So now if I move this up a bit, I do notice, like I can also just toggle overlays to, or not. Yeah. To see the result. I hope this was understandable. I went over it a bit fast. I see a question. Any reason not to leave the multi-res modifier after recapturing the details rather than switching back to the regular sub-D surface? Well, I mean, you could use the multi-res for animated characters, and we did in film productions. In Spring, some characters did still have a multi-res during the final renders, but usually we do that to capture like finer details that we usually wouldn't be able to capture with Retopology. But in this case, I already made a Retopology that is supposed to capture all of those details. So I don't need the multi-res. The multi-res, if anything, just adds more file size and complexity. So that's basically the reason. Well. I could also, like, I could tweak this a bit more, like to get some of these smaller shapes back, like the shoulder blades and all that stuff. The loops are already there. But what I'm doing right now definitely is no longer, I don't want to snap anymore. I don't want to snap this to the original sculpt underneath. But yes, this captured all the shapes pretty well. But it will need to have a bit more tweaking. Like, there are going to be problematic areas, I think. Like over here, the hands, they're a bit busted. This needs cleanup. So the apply base option is also causing a bit of problems. But it is a super nice way of keeping these details. So the same thing over here, really. I'm just gonna apply the mirror modifier. Disable some of these modifiers below, add a multi-res, subdivide this 2 times. Perfect. Actually, maybe subdivide it 3 times. And then I'm going to apply the shrink wrap on these levels. Perfect. Actually, before I do that, it's a nice habit, I think, to undo. It's a nice habit to duplicate and apply the shrink wrap modifiers one more time, so that the lowest subdivision is definitely the one you're seeing right now. Then the multi-res, and apply the shrink wrap again. Both of these. I'm going to turn the subdivisions for the viewport down. And then hit apply base. Bam. And you really notice how much volume it gains. And that's all the volume that was lost initially. Maybe sometimes it adds also a bit more than needed. But now you see, this is actually far closer to the... Wait, if I just isolate these? This is actually far closer to the original. But you do notice how it like gained a little bit of volume. This is something I need to fix afterwards. But now that this is done, I can merge this back to the body. Actually, first let's delete the other side. I don't need it. I need to also, oh, I also need to fix some areas here. Yeah, and then merge this to the other retopology object like this. And now I can again select these edges over here, these boundary edges, all of it, bridge, not bevel, bridge the edge loops and slide one into the other. Let's see. Slide one into the other. Oh, with auto merge editing. Slide it, merge, bam, done. You need to be careful a bit about like sliding some of these vertices. I don't want to snap anything, and I don't want to destroy any of the shapes that I've built. But I can still go into sculpt mode and use the slide relax brush, because it will then like slide and relax areas without changing the shape of the object. So this is a pretty safe way of adjusting things still. Perfect. And subdivide. It's a bit awkward around the waist with the lowest subdivision. Like this is really jagged, but to be fair, it is capturing the original shape really well. And then yeah, a lot of fixing little things like this. This is not great, but that is going to come in the next chapter. So let's see. So in the next live stream, I'm gonna fix a lot of these mistakes, a lot of these issues. But this is the pretty much final topology. I'm going to go through some more questions. Really nice result. Congrats. Did you save a backup copy of the Retopo without apply base? No, I didn't. Might be a mistake, but the thing is, it's really easy to go back to that by just adding the shrink wrap modifier back. Then you basically have the original version. So I'm not too afraid of like losing that that original mesh, because I still have it pretty much. Another question: could you have achieved the same result using the subdivision modifier instead of the multi-res? What distinguishes the multi-res? I couldn't have done it with the subdivision surface modifier, because if you apply the shrink wrap, it's going to be applied on the original base resolution instead, which, yeah, the subdivision surface modifier is really just, it's more simple. It's really just subdividing it, subdividing the base mesh. But the multi-res has the difference that you can actually shrink wrap it onto the higher subdivisions. You can't do that with a subdiv modifier over here. So that's basically the reason. And then there's the apply base button, which is the entire core of this trick. I see some more comments. Multires has some problems of distorting with rig armature? Yes, but most of the time it's actually fine. Like, I'm still surprised how well it worked on, especially in spring, where we were actually using multi-res on the alpha creatures. But yes, this is basically it. I'm pretty much gonna stop the stream from here. But thank you very much for watching. I hope this was insightful. And next week I'm gonna polish this a bit more before then going into the clothing. And then the retopology should pretty much be done. So see you next week then.